evening, everyone, and welcome again to another series of Breakthrough to Success. This is actually the fifth and the final episode of the series, Caribbean Authors Who Motivate, Educate, and Empower. Now, this series is my way of paying tribute to the Caribbean community and our heritage and my contribution to Black History Month. Coincidentally, the authors all happen to be women, so this was very fitting, as March also happened to be a month to celebrate women's accomplishments. Now, for those of you who are now joining or viewing for the first time, I'm Amanda Edwin, host and owner of the Facebook page, Breakthrough to Success, where I bring you tips, tools, and strategies to break through those barriers that stand in the way of your own personal achievements. And today I have as my guest, Dominican-born Angela Charles. And Angela wrote the fiction book, When God is Silent. And this evening, she will share with us a little bit about her journey as an author, and we will explore themes in the book, especially as they relate to empowerment and breaking barriers. So let's give Angela a very warm welcome. Hello, Angela.
Hi, Amanda. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming and agreeing to be with me this evening and being one of my Caribbean authors. And as I mentioned in my intro, this is the final one. This is the fifth one and the final one for this particular series. It ends off March very nicely. Also being the month for women and celebrating women's achievements. So I'm so happy, so blessed to have had all these women throughout the series, including yourself, and I'm very humbled by what you guys have been doing. Now, I just want to introduce your book to everyone, and Angela's book is called When God is Silent. And from that, when I first saw the book, and before even reading the book, I knew what the theme or the topic or the title meant. Mm-hmm. And even when I started reading it, I realized, oh my gosh, there's so much in this book that can relate to me personally, and to anyone I think who is reading the book. They can find some aspect of the book that they can actually relate to.
That's true.
So before we actually get into the actual book and the themes that I want to explore in the book, Angela, tell me a little bit about why you decided to write the book. Now, I've asked the question before in the past, what inspired you? And everyone said, I wasn't inspired.
Okay.
So why did you decide to write this particular book?
I like you, I was a teacher. I don't know if you knew that, but I taught.
Oh, I didn't actually. Okay.
Yeah, but I never thought of writing. But in 2016, I wrote my first poem. And then I figured if I could write a poem, I could publish a book. And I published my book. And then I figured if I could publish a book of poems, I could write a novel. And while my book of poems was being published, I went on a retreat and I went on my first pilgrimage to Europe. And when you go to a pilgrimage, what do you do when you get back home? You want to learn more about your faith. And so I wrote a book dealing with faith and spirituality. And that's what inspired me, the pilgrimage, basically, and to stretch myself, to make sure I could do more than just write poetry.
I guess you challenged yourself there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I understand that because, I've been trying to challenge myself even more in the last year in terms of my own writing. Mm-hmm. Some of it I've sent to you already, to read, and articles I've tried, I've published over the last year through Medium, even on my own website. Again, I challenged myself because growing up, writing was always a thing I liked, poetry I liked. And one of the articles I actually wrote on Medium, I kind of took myself back to when I was in high school. And we had to write a short story. Mm-hmm. I thought it was an amazing story. Okay. My teacher felt it wasn't. She said, no, you're missing this. And I said, you know what? And that kind of put me down a little bit. I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm not that good enough. But you know what? I picked it up again. I mean, I don't do the fiction, the short story writing. Maybe I'll pick that book up. That my theme in that one, again, was resilience. And it was a book about a guy, and his name was Malcolm. I remember his name very clearly. I was probably 15 when I wrote that story, but I remember his name being Malcolm. And in my article, I wrote that maybe one day I'll bring Malcolm back to life. You know, I'll tell his story one day, right? Yeah. So yes, I've been challenging myself, and it's a good thing to challenge. So there you have your book.
Yes, but I found out afterwards. I went to a workshop, and I found out afterwards that you don't just jump and write a novel. You're supposed to start writing short stories. So for those of you out there, don't just jump and write a novel. Please start by writing short stories.
So in this journey of writing, what did you learn about yourself? Tell me one thing you learned about yourself or you didn't know before.
Patience. It's a long process, and it's hard. You know, people think writing is easy or writing a book is easy. It's a long process, and you have to learn to accept feedback from people and understand that it's to help you make your book a better product.
Right. Okay. Wow. We have a few people coming on saying good night. Hello, Angela. We have Glynis. She's probably a friend of yours. Hello, Glynis. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Please share on your page if you can, so we can have other people look at the series.
Yeah, and one thing I want to add about the book, Amanda, is that although you write a book, there are lots of people who actually help you with the finished product. I had a team, and they were really, really, they helped me a lot. And not only team members, but you also have an editor and a publisher and a designer. So you have all these people that get together and help you create something.
And help you create. I started recently. I picked up a volunteer role, editing on Medium through one of the publications. So I figure it's going to help me as a writer as well by editing someone else's work. So I edit a couple of the short stories that come in. So yes, it does. And Glynis is saying that it takes a village to write a book. Yes, it does, Glynis. It does. Absolutely. Right. So let's move on now. So let's talk a little bit about when God is silent.
Well, everybody thinks God is silent. You know, sometimes something happens to people and then they said, oh my gosh, where is God? Where is he? Isn't he listening to me? And in my book, Naomi, she wanted God to do her will, not his will. And so because he didn't do her will, she got annoyed at him, and she figured he's just silent. And why, if God isn't listening to her, why should she listen to him? Why should she pray to him? And we all go through that when we don't get what we want, right?
I mean, I've come across a few people in my own life, that have questioned their faith.
Yes.
When certain things happen. For example, in my own family, my cousin, and I know she's listening to this, but she'll hear it eventually. But when she was very young, she lost her mom, which is my aunt.
Okay.
And later on, she lost their adopted sister in an accident. Then she lost her brother, one of her brothers.
Wow.
And that was when she lost her brother, that was when she started questioning. Because she did tell me, she said, I'm beginning to question my faith. Where is God in all of this? Why is this happening to my family? Where we're losing all these people that we love. Right. I mean, now she has gotten over that. She has, found her faith again. She still believes in God, but there was a point in her life that she questioned. And I think, based on what we're going through in life, we do question sometimes, is God listening to me? Is he hearing me? I'm praying, but is he listening?
Yeah, it's like the pandemic, like we're in a pandemic and you figure, where is God? What's happening? Where is our faith? We can lose faith. We can trust in God. Yeah.
And with Naomi, I mean, because all the themes I mean, and for me, when I read the book, the themes that came out to me were love, family, communication, and
Yes.
faith seemed to have, intertwined in all levels, or all the themes that you brought up in the book, right? Faith was always at the center of it, whether it was, losing that faith or regaining that faith.
Yes.
Now Naomi went through hell and back in this book.
Yeah, she did.
She did.
Yeah.
It was a complete railroading of her life through different things that happened to her. And again, the things that happened to her in the book happened to touch all of us in some way.
Yes.
So I think the very first one, I mean, she found love, yes, with the husband. I think, was it Peter is his name?
Peter, yeah.
She found love with Peter when they were in university. They decided, I mean, her faith was pretty strong then. Although she questioned, I guess, her mother died later on. So that's when she began questioning her faith when her mom died.
Right.
And when she was about to lose her job, or when she lost her job, again, her faith, she questioned her faith at that point. Her everything was, that was the beginning. And am I right? Was that the beginning of her derailment?
Yeah. Yes, you're right. It began with her mother. Yes.
Right. The losing of her job that she could not know. How many of us have gone through losing jobs? I mean, especially when you're in North America, that's a daily thing. That's part of life. But for someone who is not accustomed to it, okay, then you don't, it's not, because she was a career woman, so she was on the top of the ladder, and she didn't know what to do. I remember even, and that resonated with me for a bit when I read it, because when I moved to Canada, from Trinidad and Tobago, and as you may know, when you're in a Caribbean country and you're working for the government, you're there for life. Right? For life. So you don't have to think about finding a job or looking for jobs anymore. You're there until you retire. So when I had to find a job here, I found a job as a teacher, an adult educator, and I was lucky. And I stayed in that job for 2 years till I got laid off. That was an experience that I didn't know what to do with. I sank into a little bit of a depression for like 3 months, not knowing what am I to do, because I had no idea how to manage that, how to deal with that emotionally. And I think this is something that Naomi went through, not wanting to tell anyone. I mean, people knew. I told my husband, of course, but it's almost like an embarrassment, I think, and being part of the bread, being an income provider in the house, you're losing an income. It means your lifestyle might change. And what's the next step?
Because I think you're right. Most people, they get a job and it sort of defines who they are. Yes. And when you've lost that, what do? You're lost. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, and then she goes on. I mean, a lot of the things that she goes through, I think there was a part I read here, I highlighted, because I love to highlight things in the books. Of course. On page 92, and this was probably coming into the storm. I like how you use the analogy. The storm watch had evolved into an internal storm warning. The wind speed had intensified. The seas were getting rough. The rains were getting stronger, and thunder had started to rumble. Naomi didn't have the inner strength to face those storms. And as her inner turmoil was growing, and any remaining hope and serenity were fading. So this was the time where everything was coming to, the storm was building up, in her life. I think her friend had died already. I can't remember. Her best friend had died.
Yes, the best friend.
So she had lost her mother. She lost her job. Her marriage was falling apart. Her friend died. So everything.
She was falling apart.
She was falling apart, and everything came to a head
Mhm.
at that point, that perfect storm, I guess you would call it.
Mhm.
That she could not navigate that storm.
No.
So when you think about people out in the world, people around us who are going through their own storms, their own internal storms, and they don't know how to navigate.
Well,
So we,
not only that, they don't ask for help. They don't know how to ask for help. And that's one of the problems we face. We don't ask for help.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's it. I mean, we have all the people walking around with the mental health issues and
Mhm.
depression and anxiety, and because of job loss or whatever is going on in their lives, whether it's the death of someone, they've,
Mhm.
they have an illness that they don't want to talk about, they don't share. So they don't look for that support.
Mhm.
And this is what Naomi, I think her family was her support.
Yes.
Her
Yes.
family was her main support, but for
Right.
some reason, I get the feeling she wasn't always, you know, in accepting that from them.
Well, her older sister was like a mother to her, and she couldn't tell her older sister what happened when her mother died. So I think she was ashamed of what happened,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so she couldn't really confide in her sister fully.
Right.
But her sister was there, and her husband, he sort of checked out, I would say.
I know he checked out.
He checked out. So she couldn't confide in him. And her best friend, she wanted her best friend told her what to do, but she didn't do it.
Yeah.
She
And
didn't do
then there was a whole thing of communication as well. So again, with all of that is a whole lack of communication.
it. Oh
Not being
yes.
able to confide in someone, or not feeling comfortable to confide in someone, not
Mhm.
feeling that she wanted to tell the husband again, but she was afraid of how he would react maybe, or what he would think about her. Right.
Mhm.
So yeah, the
Mhm.
communication aspect, which all changed coming down to the end after she had her accident, because everything culminated in her accident, which
Yes.
was the change that it was unfortunate that she got into an accident, but that was the change that she needed, the catalyst that she needed to change her thinking
Sometimes God works in
in
certain
mysterious
ways.
ways. Hmm.
Yes. And he had to do that so she could learn to trust him again.
Right. That was done because she was in a coma for a long time, probably a month or more. She was in a coma
Yeah.
after this accident. And yeah, she did learn. It took her some time, but she did learn to trust him again.
Yes,
She
she did.
learned to communicate with her family.
Mhm. Mhm.
And yeah, that changed her entire life. She even changed the direction of her career in terms of what, complete turnaround in terms of
Complete.
what she ended up doing,
Yes, she did.
you
Yeah.
know. So
Mhm.
it just shows that sometimes God does have a plan for us. Well, he always has a plan for us.
Yes, he
And
does.
we just have to listen,
Mhm.
take the time to listen.
Yes, and we can't forget Peter, her husband. You know, although like Naomi, he broke his trust in God.
Hmm. Hmm.
Naomi thought God had forgotten her,
On
but
her.
Peter broke his trust in God,
Yes.
and he, in the end, he had to wait to hear what God had to, how God would help him out of his mess, basically.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, and but with love and faith, you can endure, and you could put in the work, and you could come out better on the other end.
I agree. Right.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that, yeah, it was an amazing read. I think I told you I read
Yes.
the book one Saturday morning in like 3 hours.
Okay. Okay.
I sat down and I read the book
Mhm.
and I could not put it down. So
Good.
this is a really good recommend,
Yeah.
everyone. Please get a copy of the book and
Hmm.
read it. So I just put on here where people can get the ebook as well. Right.
Okay. Good. Okay.
So Angela,
Yeah.
I know that you are also there's another book coming out.
Yes.
Um Tell us a little bit about that book.
It's called Sissys Journey, and we all have our own journey, whether or not you it's no journey is smooth. We all have issues. We all have obstacles. Now, Sissy is she's indigenous to the island of Dominica, and so she's different. And she is gifted, so she doesn't fit in. So she has to overcome all these challenges and learn to adapt and fit into what society expects of her. And but like all of us, there are other obstacles. Okay, so not only does she face discrimination, bullying, racism, negativity, she's brought to her knees by failure. Sometimes in the course of our lives, we come across something that really we're not used to, and it throws us. It's like the pandemic. We're not used to it. We have to learn to cope with it. Or it could be a divorce or a death in your family, and you have to learn how to cope with it. It's either it brings you to your knees and you don't ever get up, or
Right.
you right, or you get your friends and your family, you get professional help, and
And
you learn and you grow and you get stronger in the end.
right.
So it's a
Amazing.
journey.
It's
It's
a
a journey
journey.
where she walks in faith and lives in hope.
We actually have someone looking, viewing from Port Harcourt
From
City
where?
in south of Nigeria.
You're kidding. Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Wow. Welcome.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
Yes. So this is amazing. I have someone, Cheryl, has been asking a question here. She wants
Okay.
she wants you to talk a bit more about your pilgrimage, the one you went on. Tell us, she wants to know more about that.
Okay, so I've been on two pilgrimages. My first one, I went. The first place we landed was in Portugal, and it was the 100th anniversary of Our Lady of Fatima. So we went we did that, and it was amazing, to be there with the Pope and over 1 million people.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it was in the open air, so it was really safe and everything. And we all had on our red Canadian jackets, so that was
Oh,
wonderful. Yeah, and then from Portugal we went to Spain, and then we went to France. So it was very. We did lots of churches, and we had a priest with us, so it was really very spiritual, and I learned a lot.
you learn
And
more about your faith through that?
and my
Like,
faith and about spirituality. And I knew that I I had a lot to learn, and when you come from a pilgrimage, you're sort of you're changed spiritually, and you want to grow and learn more.
I've
Mhm.
never actually been on I mean, I've been on retreats, and I guess
Ah,
it's not.
you should go on a pilgrimage. It's wonderful.
I've known people who have gone, but I haven't gone myself. So yeah,
Okay,
that's going to be on my bucket list of things to do
yeah.
one day.
My second one was in I went to the Holy Land and then to Rome.
Okay,
Mhm. It's
interesting.
yeah.
That's be post COVID though. Can't do anything during
Oh no,
COVID.
can't do that anything now.
All
Mhm. Mhm. Yes.
right. So, Angelo,
Yeah.
is there anything you would like to tell before I know I want you to read that part in your book for us, the poem that you wrote.
Sure.
But I would like you to, is there anything you'd like to let the viewers know? Any words of
Yeah.
advice, anything, that you want to share with them?
Yeah. From the book, it's just a really small part in the book, but I thought it's really important. When Naomi and her husband have their marital problems, they don't tell their children, but their two daughters are university students, and although they're very smart, and although the parents don't tell them what's going on, they realize something is wrong. and
Very
i think that
perceptive. Hmm.
and I think that parents should tell their children when something is wrong with the relationship, because I think the kids should know what's going on, because they might think it's their fault.
Hmm.
Right? And you just have to reassure them that everything is good, it's not your fault, and we're working on it.
And it also shows the children that the relationship is not perfect.
That's
No
right.
relationship is perfect. So pretending to be perfect in front of them
it's not good.
is not good.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
luckily for them, their girls were very perspective, they were very perceptive of the relationship. So they knew that something was wrong. And I'm happy in the book that Peter and Naomi were able to then, once they've crossed that storm of winter calmer waters, they were able to sit and talk with the girls and let them know what was happening.
Yes, yes,
right. And that changed the entire dynamics of that family, familiar relationship.
Yes,
which
communication.
Was communication.
Again, yes, very important.
All right, Angela.
Okay.
So before we log off, I would like you to read. Angela has a poem that she wrote at the back of her book. It's called Faith, and I've asked Angela to read her poem to us.
Okay, Faith. Life is a journey, the destination inevitable. Some stumble and fall. Some chart a perilous course. Others walk by faith. Faith tested by storms, by valleys, by grief and suffering, failings and weaknesses. Faith weakens. It can shatter and die. Life gets complicated, the way completely blocked, unable to continue or reroute. Faith offers a second chance to move forward, strengthened and assured. Faith navigates the journey of hope, of assurance, mistakes, missteps, like a vehicle's GPS, always rerouting with new beginnings. No longer lost, the journey continues. God, the satellite, faith, the GPS.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, so life is a journey. And throughout the series, with the 5, you're number 5 in the series, everyone was able to give some aspect of life being a journey, the barriers that we have in life and how we can get past all those barriers with sheer willpower, with positive mindset, and with God guiding us. We can certainly get past a lot of things that keep us down. We're not immune to death. We're not immune to losing jobs. We're not immune to having failed relationships. We're not immune to illness. We're all, it's all part of our lives. It makes up what life is. But in the end, we should not let those be, those stumbling blocks keep us down in life. We just got to keep going. Keep talking to God, according to, Angela in her book, When God is Silent. God is not silent. God is hearing us. We just have to listen. Okay. So thank you, Angela, for coming on. And
thank you. And thank you, friends and families, for joining in. And whoever from Nigeria or wherever you're from, thank you.
Yes, it was good. So thank you. And I will share your information as well, how people can contact you, how they can find your website, how they can buy the book. The book is available as an ebook as well. And the site that I put here, you can get it at bookstoread.com. And again, I will post that in the site. Okay, I have some comments coming in. So well done. So that was Grace from last week saying, well done. We have Glennis saying, beautiful. And we have someone from Dominica, Gwyneth Charles. Right. So this is great. Okay. So thank you once again, Angela, and God bless and stay safe. Okay. So good night, everyone. Again, this is the end of the series, Caribbean authors who motivate, educate, and empower. Thank you for joining. You can see all past episodes either on my YouTube channel, which I will post again, or you can see them right here on my Facebook page, Breakthrough to Success. If you haven't liked my page yet, please follow and like, so you can see any upcoming videos that I have and anything else that we post on there. So again, thank you everyone and be safe.